make your connection. E was for evidence, and R was the reason that the person came in, and T was tie-in or summary. So we learned that through Terry Bowen. And then when I went to Marie Manuchehri here in Seattle, we did a lot of practicing, and we went to the Akashic Records, and we did all kinds of things that were really, I think they sort of paralleled each other in a way. And again, we learned that everyone can do this, and that the messages are very powerful. And even messages that might seem maybe small or minor, or to you might be, huge, or they might seem like validation, but that's exactly what maybe that person needs to hear. So that was a really great weekend. And I think in every training or workshop or things stand out. And I remember that particular weekend, a family was there that had lost their daughter, and giving them a message and how powerful that was. And, of course, I had no idea walking in that this would happen. And then I remember somebody giving me a message that was also very powerful. So there's just lots of really wonderful things that happen. And James Van Praagh, I just love him. He is he teaches from the heart, and he's really accurate, and he is he had like the best exercises and trainings, and we did some really unique things. One of the things that stands out for me, because I've never had this experience, not even at Arthur Findlay, is we would trade partners. And so I was working with this man, and he was a large man, quite a bit larger than myself. And the experience was we did several exercises, but this particular experience was to name somebody that you would like to have an experience with. And when it was my turn, I chose my brother, who has crossed over. And his job was that he was going to embody my brother and be him. And when he felt ready, he was going to stand up and he was going to hug me and be my brother. And wow, this man gave me the biggest hug of my lifetime. And I felt my brother's spirit, and it was really intense and very loving, and I'll always remember it for the rest of my life. And there were many, many experiences that was unlike any other. He's such a wonderful man. Have you met him? Have you met James Van Praagh?
No, but it's very, very inspiring. He sounds like a very inspirational man.
He does, and I like his books also. Yeah, I would definitely go back to him.
Absolutely. Wendy, do you have a question or a comment for Darcy?
I'd just like to compliment Darcy, because she's so accurate, and she's just really able to see things that are incredibly helpful to the person, the client that she's working with. And she's done such a wonderful turnaround for my cat, Midnight, and I'm very grateful for that, because it had gotten to the place where he was just struggling more and more and more, and the vet was continuing to pressure me that I really needed to medicate him because they were so afraid he was going to bite someone. And he was just being very, very aggressive with anyone coming into our house. And that doesn't work with a busy household with teenagers, and my daughters needed to be able to have friends over, or I'd want to have friends over. And Darcy was just able to really talk with Midnight and get his perspective and just really negotiate in a lot of ways between he and I and my daughters. And we went through some other experiences too. He also, interestingly enough, the cat went through hypnotherapy with me, which is another story, and stowed away underneath the bed, and turned out that was a big healing for him. But she's just very, very gifted at her work, and I'm very thankful for what you do, Darcy.
Oh, thank you, Wendy. I really enjoyed working with Midnight. I know we had some challenges. You know, one of the things that Wendy did, Rich, and I thought this was really great, Midnight really wanted to go outside, and there was a coyote in the neighborhood, and one of the other cats in the neighborhood had disappeared. So of course, there was great concern about this, that Midnight was not going to have that. He was going to go out. And so there became, a little bit of a battle. But Wendy, very wisely, she trusted her intuition, and she said, okay, you can go out, but here's the parameters. This is where this is your, the area that you have to stay in, and you have to be back in 1 hour. And would you think that a cat would do that? Midnight did. He came back. She said, well, he pushed the boundaries a little bit. I saw him a little bit over, in this area or that area. And it was close to an hour, but he respected her. And Wendy has worked really hard to help Midnight and to back the traditional system and honor him. And so he did the same for her.
Oh, that's wonderful. Darcy, you worked on Martha Norwalk's Animal World, too. Tell us a little about that.
That was another situation where I was told to open my arms wide to receive, and I did. And Martha Norwalk called me out of the blue and said she was told by St. Francis that she should work with me. And we both work with St. Francis, so when we're on the air together, he's like right between us, giving us some strong messages. And I'm on Martha Norwalk's Animal World on KKNW. It's in Seattle, 11:50 a.m. I'm there every other month. Martha has maybe a dozen people that she rotates, so we're all on every other month. It's a 3-hour program. And callers call in, and we take any questions. They can be medical. They can be end-of-life questions, emotional, why are they doing this, just all kinds of things. And we get some pretty tough cases sometimes because Martha also works with different veterinarians, holistic and traditional, as well as sound healers and a doctor that does this BEST technique. It's a bioenergetic treatment. And so we work as a team. So if somebody is struggling with one area, we go to the next person and the next person. And so when Martha and I are working together, we often will look at what's going on in their body and what is their best source of health. And sometimes it's not just one avenue or one person. It's a whole team approach. So yeah, I've learned a lot. It's been a lot of fun.
Darcy, what's the most difficult animal that you've ever worked with, and what was the issue, and how did it resolve?
Oh, the most difficult. There's two that come to mind. One is, I'll tell you the most recent. It was a difficult case because it was a Basenji dog. The people had 2 Basenjis, and no one could quite figure out what was going on with this dog. Everyone had seen him, all the people that I had just named, and from behaviorists on. And so then I got involved, and even after the call, this dog's name, I'll just say his name is Benji. So Benji, the people called in, and the first thing I heard is that he's rebirthing himself. And I didn't know what that meant, but that's what he said. And then he went on to talk about what was happening in his body. He was losing weight where he was almost a skeleton, and they didn't know if he was going to live very long. So over a course of 3 months, we worked with him. There was a lot of medical help and healing help, and I was taught to do some new forms of healing for him. He would do really well for a while. He would be able to eat, but then he had to be force-fed. Then he'd lose weight. Medications worked and didn't work. And when I would talk to him, he would tell me that he was here to teach his people some various lessons. They were also for him, but the lessons were for both. And he changed the man's life. The man was very kind of uptight and a very type A, and he had to learn to let go. And as this man changed, the dog got better. And then if something changed in the family, the dog got worse. So he was very much being a mirror for the family. In the end, the dog couldn't be saved. It looked like he was going to make it, and he said that he was willing to stay several times, but then decisions were made. There was lots of, some conflicting things. It was really hard for the family to sort it all out, but, what they should do. But at the end, he lost the battle. He gave up his life, and he was okay with that. But he said that he fulfilled his purpose, that he changed the course of this man's life. He also went as far to say that he would understand a lot of things more later. It felt like there would be something else that would be coming up for him, and that he would remember the lessons from this particular dog. So that was a tough one. It just kind of went on and had ups and downs for quite a while. But everyone learned from it, and lots of people involved.
Darcy, what is one of the key messages that the Archangel Gabriel or St. Francis wants to communicate to mankind, to humanity? What are some of the main messages that you've encountered so far?
Okay, some of the things that they tell me is that they want us to remember who the animals are, and that they are our teachers, that we are all one. They're here to help us, to learn lessons, to grow. They will take on our pain. They will take on our illnesses. They will go as far as to take on, cancer and other things. They can often get rid of them, but sometimes not. They teach us about unconditional love. They also teach us about boundaries, stepping up, standing up for ourselves. They will have what are seemingly disturbing behavioral issues, when in fact they're being a mirror. They're showing us what we need to do. A cat that may be urinating inappropriately on the man's side of the bed or outside of the litter box is saying, I'm angry, and please take a look at the relationship, or something to that effect. They also may be, they'll take on heart issues, that the family has heart issues. And this is about love. This is about their love for us. And what St. Francis and the archangels, Archangel Gabriel, would like us to know most of all is that all life has a consciousness, that we are all connected, we all are one, and that what we do to one affects the whole. And that's something that we really need to remember, that, we are to be here to do no harm and to honor them. There was a time where we lived in harmony and that we respected animals and we shared, and we have pulled away from that. So the more people that can see their heart and understand who they are, the more we can connect back into that way of honoring animals and honoring the earth, which is in all of our best interest.
Hopefully we're moving in that direction.
I think we are, Rich. I really do. I see it all the time. I'm sorry?
I want to tell our listeners about your website again, too, www.darcypariso.com. And they can come there. And what are some of the things that are available to someone on your website?
Well, I do the animal communication. They can do a session for a half an hour or an hour. If they're a first-time client, there's a 45-minute special. And I also do Reiki healing for animals. So some people call and ask me just to do energy work on their animal. And other times they want to do the energy work and a reading. And then I find sometimes that is a case of animals that have been traumatized or have been in shelters, and the people are trying to help them move past their fears or their aggression and to find out, what's behind it. And so what happens with that is I often will talk to the animals and ask them, tell me what happened to you. And they can show me some pretty awful things. And I say, tell me, give it to me. Get it out of your body. Give it to me. I can get rid of it. And so just like when something bad happens to you, you lose a job, you lose your home, you lose a loved one, you need to talk to someone. And then you need to be healed and go through the grief process. And that's the same with animals. So if they can get it out of their body, and when they show me abuse and they show me, being in shelters and the fears, people coming to the cage, into their crates, is it my lucky day and I have a home, or will I be euthanized today? It's really very, very difficult and traumatic for them. So I talk to them about when they're abused, that to please forgive the person that did it, to do it for themselves, to not hold that energy, and to let it go. And then I told them about all the loving people in the world that are happy to help them. And we talk about them being safe. And they often want to know, what's next. I've been bounced in and out of shelters and homes and so forth, and I don't know what to expect. Is this my last stop or not? So with talking to their family, I can find out, if you know this is a forever home, please tell them. If you're not sure, please tell them. If it's a foster situation, we can say that sometimes we don't know why they were returned. Usually with communication, I can tell them, but maybe somebody is sick or going to a nursing home, or they just are too busy, or it wasn't the best choice for them. But we'll say that we're sorry this didn't work out, but this person is a safe person, and they will help you to find a home, and they'll help you to move forward, and that you're safe. And knowing that, then at least they can relax, and they know what's happening, and that they're safe. So getting into the healing work involves all kinds of things like that. Then other than the animals, I do mediumship readings, and those are an hour long. And during this time, we can talk to people or animals or, anything at all. I find that people don't come alone. They always bring somebody with them. And so it's my job to ask who's with you. Usually when you open that channel, there's a lot of people. There might be families, father's side, mother's side, friends, animals. I mean, sometimes we have just a whole host of people that are there. And sometimes some people don't want to talk. They're just there for support, but they like to be acknowledged. So there's mediumship readings. And then, like I said, there's personal intuitive readings also. If you have questions about, your career, your love life, your direction in life, a move, or just anything at all.
To recommend and thank Darcy for her wonderful services. She was able to tune into our rabbit who had died very unexpectedly and just very young. And it turned out the reason for that was to inspire my oldest daughter to become a veterinarian. And
wow.
That was just a really, really big deal. And we just all felt better about it because we were all kicking ourselves. Did we not do something this rabbit needed? Why did this seemingly very healthy rabbit die so suddenly? And to know that, it just gave us a lot of relief.